It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, caught, touchdown, did he get it?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, here on the Full Court Press. 435-339-0321. For you, if you want to join in, always love to hear from you, our listeners, and the topics of the day. Agree, disagree, point us in different directions. It's always been an open invitation to steer us away from our designated topics, within reason, of course.
Within reason. We're not getting all philosophical here.
Or political. Or, I don't know, a lot of different things we're not going to discuss, but no. It's because we're not qualified to. But, yeah, still a lot.
Are we really qualified to talk about sports? Anyway?
Probably not. But we'll do our best to steer the discussion anyway. But always love to hear from you. And feel free to call in as well, 435-752-1069, if you want to participate on the show. Couple different things to discuss. Denver Nuggets swept the LA Lakers. Miami Heat may do the same to the Celtics tonight. It's been a pretty interesting NBA playoffs where it's been pretty competitive up to the conference finals. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but it's surprising when we've gotten this far, and these are the first real, just kind of a sweep here. The Lakers Nuggets series was still pretty competitive in every game. There were moments where the game could have gone either team's way, even though there were a few games that were decided by double digits. There were several moments in every game where it could have gone in either direction for either team.
Yeah, I think, games 1 through 3 held a ton of suspense because obviously game 1, can the Lakers get one on the road? Then, Nuggets pull that one out. Then game 2, do the Lakers tie it before going home? Obviously splitting those first 2 games can be huge for the road team, the underdog in terms of seeding. And then, we've seen a lot of teams go down 2-0 and then they tie it back up at 2-2. And so game 3 had a lot of that where, did the Lakers manage to pull things off at home? I think I remember seeing that the Lakers up to that point had been undefeated in the playoffs at home, if I recall correctly. So it was like, the Lakers are going home, but they don't lose at home. And they're going to even this series with the Nuggets. We're going to go back to Denver. It's going to be 2-2, and we're going to have a decisive game 5. But then at the end of that, game 3, the Nuggets get it, and that's where the suspense kind of fell out. The Lakers are down 3-0. There was probably some assumption that the Lakers would probably get one. I thought they would get game 4. I thought they were going to win that, and especially when they were up in game 4 for a lot of that game, and then all of a sudden the Nuggets come back.
Yeah, they had the 12-point lead? Or more.
And LeBron was going off. You're getting all the vintage LeBron tweets where he had like 31 in the first half and ended the game with a near triple-double and like 40-something points. So, LeBron was putting it all out there, but then he wasn't getting as much help. AD wasn't having a great game. And several other players just weren't having the same impact that they normally could that have helped LeBron out. And then, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic are doing their thing. Jokic is hitting step-back threes. It's like,
he was hitting crazy shots.
Yeah, he's doing all the stuff that they hope Victor Wembanyama is going to end up doing. It's like, you already have this guy. He's able to do it. Yeah, it's just the Nuggets proved that they were better. They could have just been like, we're down in game 4. Let's just go home and do the gentleman's sweep in 5 games. But they were like, no, we're closing this out now, and we're going to go on to the NBA Finals. We're going to sweep the Lakers. And so that just shows you that Denver, so far as we're able to tell, is complete in a lot of ways. Mentally, in terms of their roster construction, in terms of the star power they have. Like, they're they're about as complete as you're going to get. And I'd put them as the favorites to win the title. I just don't see, any team managing to upset them. Maybe the Heat are just in this weird magical space where they're just able to defy all odds no matter what. So in that way, the NBA Finals are going to be amazing because you're going to have, first kind of teams that maybe most people weren't expecting, but two teams who are absolutely at their best, and
right.
and storylines behind them. So it'll be, I think, a very entertaining finals, and one we'll have to certainly pay attention to.
Yeah, and I know there's everybody's reeling, trying to decipher what LeBron meant after the game was over. Talking about, am I coming back? Am I done? He's not done. I mean, he's 38 years old.
Yeah,
but he's competing at a higher level than the vast majority of the NBA at that age, and he's been mostly healthy, and he's coming back. Let's not fall all over ourselves trying to debate whether or not LeBron James is really coming back to the NBA.
I think I
really don't care one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the guy's healthy enough and competitive enough and still producing at a very high level. It'd be silly for him to call it quits.
Yeah, I think I was going to say something, then I forgot. I think the one, going back to kind of your earlier point, where it's like, if there's one thing that makes him want to consider quitting, it's that, for LeBron James, basically ever since that last year or so in Cleveland, in his first stint in Cleveland. So, like, for him, that was, year 6 or so? So, a decade and a half ago. Ever since then, he's been hell-bent on going wherever's going to get him a championship. L.A. maybe being a bit of an exception, but even still, he knew going to L.A. he could, bring in the players to get him a championship.
Right. It was as much a business decision as it was a basketball decision.
But he still knew that it wasn't 100% business decision. He could still win a championship there with the pull that L.A. always has, and especially with him there. He could attract stars, and he eventually did. And he was able to attract a bunch of veterans, and guys that could help them win a championship and stay competitive in a lot of cases. And they sort of have. It's been on and off for the Lakers. But at this point, if you're LeBron, you look at the Lakers, you think, okay, this is a team with basically no assets. They've got a few pieces, but they're struggling to maybe hold on to them. There's talk about guys who are going to be free agents this offseason. Are the Lakers going to have enough money to keep them around because of cap issues? This Lakers team, this was probably their best chance to win a title unless they just get dang lucky next year and have some pieces, explode, which kind of happened to him this year.
Well, this is a franchise that is more than willing to remake its roster at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And they've done this multiple times over these last few years. So if it's not working out, they will remake the roster, and they are willing to wheel and deal to get players in place.
And the problem is that you have to have the assets to do that wheeling and
You
dealing.
have to have players of value.
When they moved Anthony Davis, or moved for Anthony Davis, they had pieces. When they were doing a bunch of these trades, they had the pieces to go out there and get him. They don't really have that as much, and there's obstacles to just remaking this team. It's something they can't just do at the drop of the hat. And so it'll be difficult. Is it possible for them to kind of maintain this team and move forward? Yeah, it's possible. But there is a very strong likelihood that this LA team is going to kind of go back downhill a little bit, where they're able to kind of crest a wave. They're able to take advantage of Anthony Davis kind of being healthy again and not, he missed some time, but he was healthy for the playoffs for the most part. And LeBron was pretty much healthy for the playoffs. Are they going to get that again? And so if LeBron's considering retirement, it'd mainly be, I think, around the fact that, one, he is 38. He's getting close. He's, he passed Kareem for the points title, so that box is checked. And so, he thinks that as far as some of those career accomplishments, he's done them. And then you look at the, what other drive to get a championship? Well, that ship may have now sailed. He'll probably never have another chance at a title as good as this year, making to the conference finals. So he may say that, you know what, I don't like going out being swept, but it's probably not going to end any better next year. Might not even make the playoffs next year. So getting to the conference finals may be, at this point, the best way for him to go out, short of finding a way to get traded to the Nuggets next year.
or there's also this the potential to do something that's unprecedented and be able to play in the NBA with his son.
Yeah, and that could be another motivating factor. And that's the key with talking about him retiring, is you don't know what really motivates him. I'm supposing that winning a championship is a big motivator for him. And if that's the biggest motivator and he actually comes to grips with the fact he's not going to win it, he may consider going out after this year. But there could be other motivating factors. Maybe he just still wants to play basketball. Maybe he's willing to have the kind of career where he plays until he's 45, but the last 3 years he's 12 points per game coming off the bench. I would be surprised if that's who he is. He seems like the kind of guy who would want to go out on top, but maybe he is one of those limp into the sunset kind of players. So that's where if you're thinking, whether or not LeBron's going to retire, well, the only way you can guess that is if you know what his motivations are, what his intentions are. Does he want to play with his son? Is that the last thing on his bucket list? Do I want to be the first NBA player ever to play with his son? Yeah, maybe that's a motivation. Being a family man and having that very unique opportunity, he may decide to take that. And that could be kind of the last thing. Maybe he says, wish I could win a championship, wish I could do some of these things, but there's one last thing, and all I got to do is hold out, maybe go through a couple of bad years, but then, gets the chance to have a very special year that even that year may not end up coming up to much, but if you're a father playing with your son in the NBA for, 82 games, you can go 35-win season and still have a blast at times.
Yeah, that would be an incredible opportunity. Just still for LeBron James to write a legacy that hasn't ever been written before. The overall points, the points in the playoffs, the trips to conference finals, NBA finals opportunities. I mean, it's been a pretty incredible season and incredible career, I should say, for LeBron. But he still looks like somebody who has gas in the tank.
Oh, he definitely does.
And look, Jordan did too, and then he quit, and then he came back, and then he quit, and then he came back, and it became embarrassing. At least for LeBron, he has stayed with it. But at some point, is he going to go out like a champion, or is he going to go out like Carmelo Anthony, who announced his retirement yesterday, and everybody's like, "Oh, you weren't already out of the league?
Yeah.
Where have you been? We forgot about you, Melo."
Yeah, that's literally what I thought when I saw that the announcement was like, he wasn't already retired.
He wasn't already out of the league.
And you could also have the Vince Carter route where he just keeps going until he's a role player that the only thing he's useful for is veteran presence and every now and again pulling off a dunk that makes people remember, oh yeah, Vince Carter could dunk. And so we'll see if LeBron is okay with being that. It's something that every superstar has to face eventually, is that they get old enough that they're no longer better than everyone else. And it can be a really weird mental thing because they never have to come to grips with that until it's on top of them. And suddenly their psyche crumbles and they have to deal with that. So LeBron doesn't know what it's like to not be better than everyone else in the world. How is he going to come to grips with the fact that that'll eventually happen to him and in the near future? He's not going to have too many more of these seasons where he's averaging 37-7.
No, and even though Anthony Davis was arguably the best player on the Lakers, it was still LeBron's team.
Yeah, and that's the biggest.
That may be the model going forward, is finding another player who is the best player on the team, but it's still going to be LeBron's team.
That's the main issue with LeBron, maybe not wanting to go too long, is because it will always be he's just the guy. He has to be the king. And that's his persona. I am the leader of the team. I am the team. I am the franchise. More so than the owner, coach, and everything else. But he doesn't have too many more years where he can justify that. He's had 20 years where he can justify being that because he's been LeBron James. So he may now be considering, hey, look, that may have been my last elite year. Because he's already showing signs of not being as elite.
Yeah.
He's not the 2012 LeBron James anymore.
A couple texts coming through on the Full Court Press text line 8968 saying, I saw the Jazz do that to the Lakers when the Jazz were in the finals. Then there was the league finals. Oh, well.
Did the Jazz sweep the Lakers in the playoffs once?
Yeah, they did.
Was that one of the years they went to the
That
finals?
was young Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal, and they came into the conference finals all bragging like they thought they were going to dominate the Jazz. Instead, Utah swept them. That was on the way to I believe, the 98 NBA Finals. And then 5338 texting in, Bon Voyage, Marshmello Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, the Carmelo Anthony legacy is always an interesting one because it's the battle between, there's the rings argument. There's also the analytics crowd that weren't as high on Carmelo Anthony. And then there's just, basketball fans who watched Carmelo Anthony, saw that he was pretty dang good at scoring, but wasn't really impactful as a player. He was a really good player who didn't really impact the league in a significant way.
Great scorer.
Yeah.
Brought some controversy sometimes where he was in Denver and New York. I've seen some things going around today, and after the announcement has kind of made its rounds, some people saying, "Oh, New York should retire his jersey." Well,
For
why?
what?
For what?
Did they have like one winning season with him? Maybe two?
I mean, did he take them to the playoffs?
I think
Did he win playoff series?
I think he might have
got him
won a
to
playoff series.
I think he got him to the postseason once, maybe twice, but he didn't have success.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing with Carmelo Anthony. Is ultimately, it's a good player, like I said, who didn't impact the league, and so you question, all right, we watched him play. Is he, a Hall of Famer? There are people who are saying obvious first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions. No, those are, I'm kind of in this camp where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you look at the numbers and they say yes. I mean, didn't they put Manu Ginobili in the Hall of Fame?
Tracy McGrady got in. And if
Yeah.
Tracy McGrady's going to the Hall of Fame, if that's your floor, then Carmelo Anthony should be in.
Yeah, I think based on precedent, Carmelo Anthony gets in, but I think there's a perception that people have of the Hall of Fame that the floor should be a little higher. But yeah, given where the floor is, precedent does get him in. Although the floor does seem to be lowering.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get people who say Trae Young should be in the Hall of Fame. And
a very young career.
Well, I mean,
and how many playoff series has he won?
Yeah, how much is he ultimately going to accomplish? If he ends up accomplishing more than he has now, then I guess he'll have an argument. But look, you gotta actually make an impact on the league. To be in the Hall of Fame. Usually that's championship scoring titles, accolades, whatnot. Rudy Gobert will have a Hall of Fame case largely based on his Defensive Player of the Year accolades and whatnot.
Right. As
Yeah.
an individual, he was classified as the best in the league multiple times for his position.
Yeah, and in a way,
his role.
And in a way that a lot of other players haven't accomplished the same thing. So, I don't know. It's an interesting debate. You probably lean towards putting him in, but it's a weird debate that you end up when people who are arguing for him end up making a bunch of really weird arguments. And I don't even necessarily disagree with Melo being in the Hall of Fame. It's no skin off my back if he makes it. It's just weird to be like, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, and so we include college and the Olympics. And he's like, they try and include every accolade he's ever earned except for stuff that he did in the NBA.
Right.
It's like, well, he's a player. He should have to accomplish stuff in the NBA rather than, coaches and contributors who get in for other reasons. Because obviously they didn't play, so.
Right. Hey, we've got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Still invite you to chime in, 435-339-0321. Also update you on what's going on with high school lacrosse playoffs. We saw a situation today where players had to choose, were they going to play for their team or be with their peers at their graduation ceremony. And it's going to happen again tomorrow. We'll see how that's affecting a game going on right now in the lacrosse playoffs. down at Westminster College. We'll give you an update on that coming up on the Full Court Press.
Forget the weather this summer with York Home Comfort Systems. Now's your chance to get local rebates, financing options, and industry-leading manufactured-back warranties on your new home comfort system. Plus, you can get up to $2,000 in tax credits with IRA 25C federal tax credit. Installing a York Home Comfort System's even more affordable. Maximize your savings and forget the weather this summer. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning Showroom is west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
Hi, this is Jay Broadbent. If you use a CPAP, need a walker or a wheelchair, or just need some assistance around your home, then this announcement's for you. Alpine Home Medical is opening a new store in Tooele. We're planning on opening our doors this summer. Check us out on social media at AlpineHME or alpinehomemedical.com to stay up to date.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
About 11 and a half minutes to go in the second, and Mountain Crest trailing Juan Diego. Well, scratch that. They just tied it up. I was going to say trailing by one, but now they're tied. It's 12-12 in the girls 4A lacrosse semifinals taking place at Westminster College this afternoon. And we talked about this yesterday. This is affecting girls lacrosse today. It's going to affect boys lacrosse tomorrow. You have, and you also have, 5A and 6A soccer playoffs that are going on right now. So it's affecting quite a few schools where these student athlete seniors are having to choose: do I compete with my team in the playoffs, or walk across the rostrum or whatever for my diploma with my peers for my graduation? And for Mountain Crest girls lacrosse team today, one senior opted to stay and compete with her team, but 5 of her peers opted to stay home and participate in the Mountain Crest graduation ceremonies today. So Mountain Crest in the semifinals, and I'm not saying that the students are to blame. I'm not trying to point fingers at the students here and saying one's decision was better than another, but the reality is this Mountain Crest team has 5 seniors not available to help their team in a semifinal playoff game, and we could see even more than that have conflicts tomorrow where both Ridgeline and Green Canyon have a really big number of seniors. They're going to have to make this decision. Are they going to go and have a little ceremony in the center field with the cap and gown with a few parents and coaches there to watch them? Or are they going to go do their traditional graduation ceremony with all their peers?
Yeah, and we did talk about this yesterday, and I think We kind of both went, 'cause, we heard about the issue. We went and looked into it and what UHSAA's solution is, and their solution to conflicts with graduation day is to have this potential midfield ceremony for any of the athletes, and I think we kind of both assumed that wasn't a bad little compromise there. The athletes could just have their midfield ceremony and graduate, but I think there's a value these students are placing on being all that pomp and ceremony. They place real value on that, and I'm not criticizing. I'm saying you have your values and you go by those. We all have what we value. I think me and you maybe went with the midfield ceremony would be fine. We both can't even remember our ceremonies. We're like, I didn't value that much. I didn't remember it. So that's probably the perspective we were coming from. Is like, hey, you might remember this semifinal game more than you're going to remember your graduation ceremony. But that's not how they see it, and it's obviously their choice to make, and they've decided to make it. They value certain things more than others, and they're going by that. It's unfortunate that they have to make this decision because these are two potentially momentous occasions in their careers. Or one is in their life, and one is in their high school athletics career. It's potentially the end of their athletics career, and they may not even be there for it. So it's unfortunate they have to make this decision, but the only solution would be just to have to move the lacrosse season up. Maybe that's the solution here, because soccer got done a lot earlier. Baseball, softball got done a lot earlier.
For 4A, but it's still going for 5A and 6A.
Yeah, that's true. That also depends if those guys are graduating this week. I don't know if the entirety of Utah has moved up their graduation, because I graduated first week of June.
No, see, Bear River, they're having their graduation ceremonies next week on the 31st.
Yeah. And maybe that's a solution, is graduate later or play the playoffs earlier. And I think maybe that's the problem that UHSAA is. Maybe you try and blame them, but it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? There's like 300 schools, and they all graduate at different times. So,
well, there's another solution too, which UHSAA has not really been willing to yield on, and that is, it doesn't really play out in the girls' bracket the way it is now. But for the boys tomorrow, you've got two schools competing against each other who are going to drive south an hour and a half to play a game and then drive back home when buses are going down and the cost for transportation. You've got graduation ceremonies for both schools. Why not move that game here in the Cache Valley in the northern Utah? Put it on a neutral field, which is neither home to Green Canyon or Ridgeline, and let them play at a time that's accommodating for both seniors, groups of seniors for both teams to still participate in their graduation ceremonies. But UHSAA, they have these contracts. We're going to put these games at these venues and these destinations. We're going to have these officials here. We're going to have video here. We have our broadcast partners, and we can't move it for one game and not for the others. So they're just applying a standard to everybody and not being willing to accommodate unique situations.
Well, I think I'd say UHSAA is perfectly fine in doing that, because to do anything else would require, more money, more flexibility than they're perhaps capable of. It's not like they're running around with infinite money down there. Because to say, okay, what if they wanted to have the flexibility to move the game up here? Well, they'd have to schedule, let's say, Merlin Olsen Field. But they'd have to say, well, we may or may not use it. But for Utah State, they'd have to say, well, they're going to use it, and they couldn't use it for anything else. And granted, I don't know if it's being used for anything right now. But what if something came up for Utah State and they couldn't do it? So, and you'd have to do it for someplace down south or something like that. To accommodate these situations, you'd have to basically make contracts with all the different places. And all those different places, their venues would be locked up just in case.
Yeah.
And then would UHSAA pay all three of them for that contract? They don't have enough money to do that. And so and then obviously with Westminster hosting these, and then the Zions Bank Stadium, like they're holding it off too. And right now there's a tons of things that they're potentially doing with soccer and with Zions Bank Stadium and the Monarchs and all that. So they're building their schedules around that more so than maybe SUU or Utah State are doing with their stadiums. They're not maybe as busy, but the ones where UHSA is doing it, they're potentially busy. They may want that. So they're committing resources, and is UHSA just going to pull out and say, nah, never mind, and now you're not getting the money for it either. So as much as we'd like to say, okay, let's just flex this game up to play at Utah State, there's a lot of logistics behind there that I think just prevent that, and a lot of money that just isn't there. Because if they were rich enough, yeah, they could just do it. Like the NFL, they've flexed games to a completely different city, but they make billions of dollars. UHSAA doesn't have that kind of money to just flex games everywhere.
But historically, one of the highest attended football games in the playoffs in UHSAA history was when they did that. They flexed, they moved it because it was a championship game between two Cache Valley schools, and instead of having it at the University of Utah, they moved it up to Utah State. And then there was a big bunch of people who showed up, bought more tickets than they would have normally. And it doesn't have to be at a university setting. I know we've talked about how it's a really special opportunity to play on these fields that are unique and venues that are places where normally you wouldn't or might never, ever be able to play on again. But how much do you play into that versus let's still give every player an opportunity to play instead of having to make a difficult decision about whether they should play or not?
Yeah, like I said, it'd be nice if they could do that. And maybe if they plan something, like just have it at one of the random Cache Valley schools.
Right. Could be at Logan High. I don't know if Logan's doing their graduation ceremonies on their football field or not, but if so, take it to Mountain Crest. Take it to Skyview. I mean, there are venues, Legacy Fields, maybe even up at USU if Merlin Olsen's not available.
Legacy Fields doesn't have enough stands to hold enough people.
Well, I mean, there's got to be options. And it's just, I understand UHSAA has to plan these things out, and they have contracts, and they have to set things in motion months and months in advance. But this time of year, it seems like there should be more consideration or extra consideration as to the other things going on that you're running up against. Having a student go out in the center field, slap a gown and cap over the top of their uniform, play a little bit of music, and say, there you go, you're graduated, now get back out there and play.
I mean, that sounds good to me, but again, like I said...
I mean, you avoid the boring speeches, I get that, but I don't know. For some, you're putting them in a difficult place where they have to make a tough decision.
Yeah, and it's a decision we'd rather them not have to make. Ideally, you get both.
8968 texting in. When I was a sophomore at Davis, the baseball season was almost a rainout all season. Davis played the championship game sometime in mid-June.
Jeez, how much rain was there that year?
It was a wet spring. Yeah, I mean, I like you said, I think for some people, it's fine. It's unique. You get to be in the middle of a field. It's a short ceremony. You don't have to deal with all the pomp and circumstance and boring speeches and be done with it and still be with your peers and play a game. But for others, maybe they got family in town. Maybe this is a big deal where it was a big opportunity for them to even make it to graduation. And maybe they're valedictorian. Maybe they're one of those great student athletes, student coming first, and because a lot of athletes do have great grades, and they had an opportunity to do something special in front of all their peers. So it's unfortunate that some of these students have to be put in that position.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, and so maybe there's a way you can work around it, but it's kind of like trying to get all your friends and family together for a union. You're working with too many different schedules, so maybe there's something the UHSA can do about this if it's upsetting to the parents, make some calls, because that's the thing. The UHSA is not going to address this unless they think it's an issue, which, they clearly don't. They seem to think they have a workaround, which I think is okay, but some people don't. So if you see it an issue, work on, maybe get them so that they can plan an option to flex something like this. But of course, that would only work with Ridgeline Green Canyon. It wouldn't work with most situations because that's not going to be super common. Because like with
especially going forward with more teams added to 4A.
Yeah, but like maybe just having the lacrosse season start earlier. But of course, I think part of the reason why UHSAA would want to do this is because, well, they were, using Zions Bank, stadium for soccer. And, can you double schedule? Like, can you get the entire stadium for like 3 or 4 days to do both soccer and lacrosse? Maybe. So, if it's something that you care about, now obviously if it's something you've had to go through and don't want to have other students have to make this kind of decision, send an email to the UHSAA, but make sure it's kindly worded.
Yeah. So let's put that as we go to a timeout here in the Full Court Press. What would you rather do? Would you rather, if you were put in that position, compete in the semifinals with your teammates, have an intimate graduation moment on the field, or would you rather be a part of the pomp and circumstance and walking across and getting your diploma handed to you with your peers and have an opportunity to do that in the Spectrum, because that's where a lot of these schools will be holding their graduation ceremonies. 435-339-0321.
Advanced Fireplace and Stove wants to thank you for voting them 2 years running the gold medal winners in the Best of Northern Utah contest. With over 35 display models in their showroom, their goal is to make the process of making your home comfortable and cozy an easy experience. With premier brands like Heat and Glow, Quadrifier, and Vermont Castings, they have something for every style, every home, every budget. Building or renovating, they've got you covered. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
It's finally starting to feel like spring, so let Prodigy Brewing spring a delicious experience of flavor and fun into your world. Enjoy Cache Valley's juiciest burgers, tastiest nachos, flavor-filled wood-fired pizzas, and specialty craft brews. And did you know Prodigy Brewing offers an amazing brunch menu every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Whether it's lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch, let Prodigy Brewing spring you into deliciousness. Book now for upcoming graduation parties. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
A diamond is forever and is perfect to represent your love. For those special occasions, give her a natural, one-of-a-kind diamond as unique as she is. Our exclusive brand, Neat and Brilliant Diamonds, is both beautiful and affordable with quarter-carat diamonds starting at $499. We have hundreds of sparkling diamonds at our integrity price guarantee with financing available. An investment for generations to come, Monday through Saturday 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. SC Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. We have some surprising but awesome news to announce. Purple, the rocket ship in the mattress industry, has purchased IntelliBed, the best mattress in the industry. We could not be more excited. The beds have yet to arrive, but we flew out with Purple, and seriously, this new IntelliBed Purple lineup, it is immaculate. We have the whole Purple lineup and the IntelliBed Purple lineup. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress, now partnered with IntelliBed Purple.
Summer is finally here. How do you protect your eyes from the sun? Crystal Vision, a Best of Northern Utah 2-time gold medalist, can build prescription sunglasses that match your style and feel. Crystal Vision sunglasses are perfect for golf, a drive in the car, watching ball games, or when you're out for a walk. Whatever your activity, their prescription sunglasses are made from the highest quality materials and components and feature interesting styles and lens colors. Your sunglasses will feel like they were made for you. Crystal Vision, online at crystalvision.com.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. If you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. 435-339-0321. Had a few texts coming in about what's going on with lacrosse. These high school students having to choose one senior, continuing to play for Mountain Crest this afternoon. Several others opted to participate in graduation ceremonies today for the girls' team. And tomorrow it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the boys, because Ridgeline and Green Canyon both have graduation ceremonies taking place tomorrow. Ridgeline earlier in the day, Green Canyon later in the day, but their game between each other is at 3 o'clock at Westminster College. And so these high school seniors have some decisions to make. Earlier today in lacrosse, Bear River continued to dominate, beating Waterford 21-3, just throttling their opponents left and right. So whomever wins the game going on right now between Mountain Crest and Juan Diego will face Bear River on, Thursday, the 25th? And that will be at 5:30 at Zions Bank Stadium. And right now, about 2 minutes to go in the second. It's a tied ball game, 13 apiece for Juan Diego and Mountain Crest in the girls 4A lacrosse semifinal.
Yeah, hopefully they can overcome the loss of not having some of those seniors and get to face Bear River.
Yeah, maybe a moot point the way Bear River is playing, but
yeah, it might
still,
not matter in the end.
An opportunity to be in the championship is meaningful.
It's better to take home a trophy than nothing at all.
Yes, that's very, very true. All right, you know what we need to do it on a Tuesday? One thing we need to do is get into the stat that blew our minds and hand out a player of the week. So let's first go with the stat that blew our minds, shall we?
Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
All right, a stat that blew my mind this week. I know there's been some interesting stuff going on with the NBA, but and there were some individual accolades that were pretty impressive in the Western Conference Finals, but I want to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Eric Spoelstra specifically. His team is leading 3-0 for the 7th time in his head coaching career. And that's pretty impressive, but that's not the most. It's only the 5th most by a head coach in NBA history. But it's still pretty impressive. Eric Spoelstra, 7 different times has he had his team with a 3-0 lead in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's domination. That's what it is. It's
very, very strong.
It's just being a dominant team.
The chance to go 4-0 tonight.
Yeah. So my stat, I'm kind of packaging a couple together because they're pretty closely related. I'm going to be in the Western Conference. So Nikola Jokic having himself another great playoffs. Mind you, this isn't the first time he's played great in the playoffs. He's honestly been one of the best playoff players in NBA history. Granted, he's not had a period where, he's tailed off at the end of his career. So he hasn't had those years maybe drag down his individual numbers like they have for some of the other greats that he's compared to. But still, looking at this playoff run, he passed Wilt Chamberlain for most triple-doubles in a single postseason. Nikola Jokic has 8. Wilt Chamberlain had 7 in one single postseason. And kind of along with that, Jokic is the first to average a triple-double in at least 2 different postseason, 2 different series. He's the first to do it since Wilt Chamberlain in 1967. And I imagine that was the same season he got the 7 triple-doubles. So yeah, Nikola Jokic, kind of a modern Wilt Chamberlain in some ways.
Yeah, he is. That's a great comparison. Really good choice. I'm also going to the Denver Nuggets for my player. I'm actually going to go with Jamal Murray for my player of the week.
My stat was the Nikola Jokic stuff.
Oh, that's right.
We hadn't gotten to player of the week.
We got to get to the player. That's right. Let's do that now.
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go!
So Eric,
I'm getting ahead of myself
great suspense. Who is your Player of the Week? I cannot wait
Who is
to
it gonna
hear
be?
who it is. This drama I could never guess.
Yes, I'm going to go with Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic had some crazy stats, and he did, and he's a tremendous player. He really is the MVP. But the Western Conference Finals, I thought Murray's been really good through the playoffs overall. But I thought he had moments where he really carried the Nuggets and came alive. And when there were times where the Nuggets were kind of down, he sparked them back to life. Jokic has been very consistent, but Murray, I think, has been the spark to really ignite his team through those victories to get that sweep of the LA Lakers. So I'm going to go with Jamal Murray as my player of the week.
Was it game 2 or game 3 that he just absolutely went off and kind of carried the Nuggets through?
I think it was game 2.
That's what I was thinking.
He had a huge fourth quarter, and then he had a really big first half the following game in LA.
So for my player of the week, just going to go with Nikola Jokic. I mean, I went with his stats, and I was like, I usually go local, but I kind of ran out of options unless I wanted to dig deep into the lacrosse numbers. But yeah, there aren't really too many local athletes playing sports right now. So I probably should have gone with somebody on Bear River. The Bear River softball team is probably what I should have done. But we'll go with Nikola Jokic. Just pick the low-hanging fruit. Be done with it.
Bear River softball team, very deserving. I mean, the way they were not the team that was expected to win. I mean, they had a really good year. They were the number 2 team going into the playoffs.
They were, I think, one of the two because in the first RPI they were number 1. I think Ridgeline eventually overtook them, but I wouldn't call Bear River softball a surprise.
Not a surprise. They weren't the number 1 team. I guess maybe that's the best way to put that.
Yeah.
But I think you could also include the Bear River girls lacrosse team in there too.
Yeah, they're absurd. So we're gonna have some conversations. Hopefully, we'll be able to have a chance to talk to some of these coaches and players from these teams.
All right, another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. If you've got a player or a stat that we should be talking about, love to hear your nominations on that. 435-339-0321. And when we come back, an update on what's going on with the girls lacrosse with Mountain Crest taking on Juan Diego.
Spring will get here, and when it does, those old rusted-out vehicles need to be moved. Call DD Auto and Salvage and let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Ladies, do you have your men's ring yet? We know that he got you the perfect ring, so let's get him one that will show how much you care, such as a one-of-a-kind Damascus steel, his choice of camo, or an exquisite redwood inlay. And if you really want something out of this world, come check out our meteorite rings. For the largest selection of unique men's rings, make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Hello, this is Deputy Solanoa from the Cache County Sheriff's Office inviting you to join us for the annual Special Olympics Torch Run, Monday, June 5th from 6:30 to 7:30 at Merlin Olson Park. Come run with local first responders, Special Olympic athletes, and more. To participate, just purchase a Torch Run t-shirt. The link and more information can be found on Facebook by searching Cache County Special Olympics Torch Run. Shirts need to be purchased by May 25th. Plan to join us Monday, June 5th from 6:30 to 7:30 at Merlin Olson Park for the annual Special Olympics Torch Run.
This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. May is the best month of the year. Why? May is Maytag month at Daryl's Appliance, and it's our anniversary. We've been in business 53 years. Maytag is known as the industry leader, and now you can save up to 30% off all Maytag major appliances. Plus, buy 3 Maytag appliances and get an additional $200 mail-in rebate, and get Daryl's famous service you can trust. Only at Daryl's West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brett Green, president of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Did you know more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection each month? AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping Americans safe in dangerous times. 1390 KLGN is here to serve you, and we take seriously our commitment to our listeners. We want AM radio to be available for years to come. So please join us and text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Don't forget Napa Auto Parts. They've got truckloads of various types of diesel oils. Lowest prices of the year for Chevron Delo and Napa Premium. And you can't beat the price anywhere. So go check it out. They got 5 different locations locally owned between Preston and Providence. That's Napa Auto Parts. Pay for it with cash or credit card only in store. Go check it out. 5 different locations. That's Napa Auto Parts. I wanted to give you an update on what's going on with Mountain Crest girls lacrosse, but the stream I was monitoring just ended while we were doing our segment, and you can't find a final score. At the moment that I saw, it was tied, and still trying to find it. So if we locate the score before we finish the show, I'll be sure to pass that along. But the time that I saw, it was like 13 all. Juan Diego and Mountain Crest all tied up. So still trying to find what took place there. Though, remind me, Jason, is it it's 2 halves for lacrosse, or they do quarters?
They do quarters in boys lacrosse. I don't know
Maybe
if
it's
they do
just
it differently.
halftime. We'll try to find out what's going on for though the game started at 3, so they should be done by now.
It might just be halves. I'm looking at Jason Turner, one of the Herald Journal reporters, and fortunately his last update was like 8 minutes left in the second half. So he's not updated anything yet.
That's not helpful. We'll keep trying to find out a score there, best that we can. But tomorrow for boys lacrosse, it will be Skyview taking on Judge Memorial at 1, and then Ridgeline and Green Canyon at 3. And Skyview's the number 1 overall seed. Ridgeline's number 2. Green Canyon is number 6. And the championship for the boys lacrosse will be on Friday at 5:30. So that's what we know. Interesting things coming out. We don't have time to get into it today, but we'll get some chance to get into some football projections tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be the summer of preview magazines, preseason all-conference teams. Athlon Sports looks like they just came out with theirs recently. I was seeing some stuff out of the Mountain West going forward, so we'll be looking into that. We'll have that for you tomorrow. We do have one text coming across a couple texts from the same person coming across the text line, and kind of related to the lacrosse, where there's people having to make the choice between graduation ceremony on the field in the semifinals or in the normal setting. 2305 says, if high school administration is not willing to be flexible and the Utah Athletic Association is not flexible, then students will always have to make a choice as to which way they will go. It sounds like it's preparing them for life, and that's how life is. Which kind of fair point there. We all have to make choices and prioritize what we do by our decisions. So some harsh life lessons in high school.
That's fair. That's true. Sometimes it's choosing one option over another. It can't always be served up on a platter for everybody. So that's fair. That's good point. It's those are tough decisions that they'll have to make.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see. I've seen going back to the potential Utah State football stuff. I'm curious to see where after, the new recruits Utah State's brought in, for instance, Phil Steele, he does his, magazine preview, and he talked to Blake Anderson like last week, and that was kind of when it seemed Anderson had probably wrapped up most of his recruiting. So Phil Steele will get that insight from Anderson about his incoming recruits and will be able to take that into account. I would hope Athlon Sports is taking that into account as well, all the most recent recruits. But we'll be curious how they view Utah State. Will they be optimistic about those recruits, or just go off the fact that Utah State has so little proven that they're just going to put them down there at the bottom and take the conservative prediction and say, we're going to predict Utah State's terrible because we can't say otherwise.
So we just don't know.
So it'll be interesting to see how they view Utah State when they're very much. Can you ask me in December what their season's going to be like? That's the kind of team they are.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After scoring 40 points and playing all but 4 seconds in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, LeBron James and the Lakers season officially ended at the hands of the Denver Nuggets. Last night's game does a lot more than deliver Denver its first finals appearance. Last night's game was the exclamation point of 2 superstars headed in opposite directions. Nikola Jokic, in the middle of his prime, could have won his 3rd straight MVP and averaged a triple-double in the postseason. He's fresh off a sweep of one of the greatest players of all time. And at 38, LeBron, an all-time great resume, but after last night's loss, could be forced to have off-season surgery on his foot and is reportedly set to consider retirement. As things stand today, it's impossible to predict how these 2 careers will shake out, but after going head-to-head in the conference finals, the 2 superstars' careers appear to be on diverging paths. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.